5-day FDP program on research methodology. So now I hand over the session to our coordinator, Ms. P. Raghu, to take out this session.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Research is to see what everybody else has seen and to think what nobody else has thought. A great saying by Albert St. Georgi. A lovely morning to one and all. This is Revati, Assistant Professor in the Department of English and Coordinator for this FDP program. It gives me an immense pleasure to welcome you all and the Chair to the inaugural of this 5-day online faculty development program on research methodology. I would like to thank our beloved patrons, Sri Raghu Kalidindi sir, Chairman of Raghu Engineering College, Secretary Srimati Rama Kalidindi Madam, and the Director Sri Rahul Verma Kalidindi sir for trusting us and giving this wonderful opportunity. It is known that the quality of research work has a direct impact on the quality of teaching and learning in the classroom, which benefits students, society, and the country as a whole. We hope through this FDP participants will get an in-depth understanding of research and its applications in the decision-making process. I warmly welcome you again. Let us begin the session with a virtual lightning lamp. Thank you.
सरस्वती भगवती निःशेष जाड्यापा शुक्ला ब्रह्म विचार सार परमा आद्यां जगद्व्यापिनी वीणा पुस्तकधारिणी अभयदा जाड्यान्धकारापहा हस्ते स्फाटिकमालिकां विदधति पद्मादयो संस्थितां वन्दे तां परमेश्वरीं भगवतीं बुद्धिप्रदां शारदाम्
Okay. Now, I would like to request the research coordinator of HDS department and the convener, Dr. Anandita Chatterjee, Professor of Chemistry, to give the welcome remarks for the opening ceremony.
A very good morning to all. Honorable Chairman Sir Sri Raghu Kalidindi, Honorable Vice Chairman Sir Sri Rahul Kalidindi, Honorable Secretary Madam Srimati Rama Devi Kalidindi, respected Chief Guest Professor K. Bavalu, Director of Research and Development, JNTU Gujara Vijayanagaram, respected Principal Sir Professor C.H. Srinivasu, respected Deans, HODs, our beloved Coordinator of Basic Science and Humanities, Sri Sir, my dear colleagues and participants. It gives us a great pleasure to welcome you all to this 5-day faculty development program on research methodology. We are very glad to receive an overwhelming response in the terms of number of registrations. It reflects the relevance of the topics we have chosen to be discussed by our resource persons in this FDP. Research output in terms of publications, patents, and projects has become backbone of any institution. Success by the way of ranking at national and international levels, visibility, and perception in the society. The aim of this FDP is to provide knowledge on how to start, enhance one's career in research. Some of the areas of research we are aiming to tackle in this FDP are development of research design, systematic literature review and data collection, academic writing, project proposal writing, knowing about scientific journal ranking, citations, H-index, etc. We have chosen resource persons from academic as well as research organizations whose vast knowledge, experience, and knowledge is going to be highlight of the FDP and will be beneficial to all the participants of the FDP. We are indebted to all the resource persons for accepting our invitation and agreeing to deliver a talk in the FDP. This 5-day FDP is scheduled into 2 sessions. Per day, we are having morning session from 11 to 12:30 p.m. and afternoon session is from 2 to 3:30 p.m. I request all the participants to be present for the entire session and have lively discussions at the end of the session with our experts to get benefited in the true sense. Finally, I, Dr. Anindita Chatterjee, convener of this FDP, and Srimati P. Revati, program coordinator of the FDP, would like to thank you for your participation and ask you for your support throughout our program to make it a grand success. Thank you all. Now, I would like to invite our respected principal sir, Professor C.H. Srinivas sir, to speak a few words on this occasion. Over to principal sir.
Good morning, all of you. Respected Chief Guest, Dr. K. Bahul Garu, Director R&D and also Admissions, JNT Guradayada, Vijayanagaram, and our Research Coordinator, Dr. Anindita Chatterjee, our Dean R&D, Dr. G. Gupteswar Sahu Garu, and all head of the departments of ECE, EEE, Mechanical, Civil, Computer Science, Machine Learning, CSM, Data Sciences, Cyber Security and Internet of Things, Machine Learning, and remind all staff members and warm welcome to this FDP program on research methodologies. So we have identified this is the one of the important topic to be conducted as 5-day FDP so that they can learn in detail about this research methodologies. As we are aware that research methodologies is one of the curriculum to be carried out to go further research or to complete their coursework in duration of PhD work. So we have identified that this will be useful to those who are pursuing research. On this occasion, we invite all the staff members, and also we would like to thanks to our management giving their consent and their cooperation and encouragement to conduct these programs. And our institution has been established in the year of 2001. We have 23 years of academic excellence. And also we have 9 branches. And this year, we have 2 institutions, Raghu Engineering College and Raghu Institute of Technology. This year, Raghu Institute of Technology has been merged as Raghu Engineering College. Now our total strength is 980. Total we will be having 33 sections. So we are on the way to conduct more number of programs. And also we have recently got NAC A+ grade. And for academic excellence, not only academic excellence, but we want to go for research excellence and research projects. This is our, of course, it is we are keeping as a short-term goal, and we want to make it very rapid developments in our research and and develop, and applying projects and research projects and getting through. This is our next objects. And Dr. K. Babul Garu, and thank you so much, sir. We were concerned about this program, and we are looking forward to our support from the university also. And I would like to thank all university authorities who are encouraging our institution time to time. And also we're looking forward, Dr. K. Babul Garu, further to encourage our research scholars. And we are very, our faculty is very enthusiastic doing research. And some of also would like to, we like to act as a supervisors and also. Sir Babul Garu, we have the research centers, ECE, CSC, EEE, and mechanical. So we are looking forward and further allowing research scholars and further development of research activities on our institution. We're looking forward from the university side. Thank you, Sir Babul Garu, and also thank you so much. And I wish this program be successful and knowledgeable. And this is only the beginning. After completion of this FTP, you continue what you learn for the benefit of the students and the institution, and also outside, and also for the university also, because developments also. So definitely our institution give good inputs to the research and all. Thank you, and wish you all the best. Wish all the participants, wish all the best, and have a 5-day program which will be successful. Thank you, sir. Thank you, one and all.
Now, I would like to introduce today's chief guest, Professor K. Babulu, sir. Professor K. Babulu, currently he is the Director of Research and Development in JNTU Gurjara Vijayanagaram. Professor Babulu, sir, did his BE from Andhra University, MTech from REC Warangal, and PhD from JNTU Anantapura in the field of VLSI and embedded system. Professor Babulu has 25 years of research and teaching experience along with many administrative credentials. He has around 50 international publications and has attended around 50 national and international conferences. Professor Babulu was a staff member for IEEE student branch at JNTU Anantapura, convener and member of fact-finding committee of JNTU A, JNTU K, and JNTU Gurjara. He was additional controller of examination at JNTU K, HOD of ECE department JNTU K, controller of examination at JNTU K, and many others. So with this short introduction to an illustrious career, I would invite Professor K. Babulu, sir, to address the gathering. Over to sir.
So thank you, Dr. Anindita Chatterjee, convener of this program. Is it audible to all of you?
Yes, sir, it is audible.
Good morning to all of you.
Yes,
Good morning to all of you. So, at the outset, I am very thankful to the management and the principal, convener, and the program coordinator, and the advisory committee and organizing committee of our lovely institute of our JNTU GV, Raghu Engineering College, which has been recently merged two engineering colleges as a single engineering college, Raghu Institute of Technology and Raghu Engineering College merged, and now it will be a single unit as a Raghu Engineering College. So I am very thankful to all the persons, those who have directly or indirectly involved in this particular great program, a 5-day virtual FDP on research methodology. Nowadays, all of us, particularly I hope that the participants or most of the participants may be the researchers, and so many faculty members may be joined in this program, those who are guiding the research students. So here I don't like to take much time. Simply I would like to give brief introduction of research methodology and the importance of this research in our career. And I have seen that college management and the principal, convener and program coordinator invited excellent resource persons to deliver their experience to all of researchers as well as the faculty members, those who are supervising the research scholars. Basically, research methodology is simply a methodology to explore the different procedures and techniques which is used to identify, selection, and the process and analysis of the information about a topic of interest. Suppose anyone which is going to be pursuing research means the topic of interest is very much important. So as far as the basic definition of the research is concerned, it's totally depending upon three important terms, and those three terms will be is also known as a golden thread. Aim. So we have to find out the aim of the research work and the objectives you have to extract from your aim. And while defining the objects, we can able to identify different types of questions also. So the combination of these three, aim, objectives, and questions combines together, we call it as a golden thread, which is very, very important for research methodology or for our research from starting point to ending, so that we can go deep and really dig into a specific problem or opportunity. So in order to go for effective research, we should have to identify the three major important components. The one is the research methodologies. What are the different types of research methodologies that we have to adopt? And number two is how to collect the data which is required for our research, that is data collection methods. And another one is data analysis methods. If you are well acquainted all these things, so you have to adopt the appropriate methodology of the research, and you have to choose the appropriate data collection methods. And if you have analyzed the data with the different methods, definitely your research will be an effective one. I have gone through your program schedule, and excellent topics have been mentioned. That is research problem, development of research design, literature review, how to write the thesis, and what are the challenges you have to face, how to get the publications. Excellent topics have been included in this particular FDP. I hope that all these topics are useful not only researchers but also to the staff members. So at the outset, I don't like to waste much time. So any researcher should require, with the experience of the Directorate of R&D of our JNTU GV, Vijayanagaram, I'm observing that while registration, the researcher is very active. Once after getting the registration, is going to inactive. So researcher once has been admitted into the research program, you should be active from starting to ending by considering all the whatever the parameters I have been explained earlier. So particularly any researcher must concentrate on what is our interesting topic, what is our interesting area, which type of methodology you have to use, and how we have to be encounter our problem, what are the That means is it third, how the literature has to be taken over, all the things has to be required. So once you are a researcher, you should be identified, because most of the research, suppose at about 30 to 40 research scholars, after getting their admission, they are going into inactive. No, I am having so much of experience with research scholars that, including my research scholars, they are expressing their own personal problems. With the experience of different people or different colleagues, problems may come into existence, but you should not take it as a problem. You should take it as in a positive manner to continue your research. So as a research scholar, once you registered in the particular university, definitely you should be active from starting from the day of admission. So you have to adapt a particular procedure. First, initially, you have to identify the problem, and you have to go for according to your problem with respect to your interesting area. You should concentrate on literature review. So while going to the literature review, also they are having so many doubts, so many confusions also. So there is no need to confuse while going for the literature of the your topic. Suppose if you have joined in this particular year 2023 in the research program, you go at least 5 to 10 years back and identify the important journals, because nowadays the publication plays a dominant role. So the quality of publication, the quality of the journal, all these things came into existence in order to evaluate your research work at final. So my advice, I am giving these points on a generic manner, which is to be valid for all types of research scholars and guiding supervisors. The literature survey has to be taken over. Suppose if any research scholar has been joined in 2023, at least 5 to 10 years back, that means from 2013 onwards, you identify 3 to 4, there are at least maximum of 5 reputed journals, and collect the data with respect to your area as well as the topic, and identify those journal material. You should work on the materials, work on the journals. So everybody, they are starting their work, research work with their own. No, you are advised to identify the better journal, good journal, and you should find out the topic which is relevant to your area. And first you identify that particular journal publication and work on that. Already somebody has done that work. You should also work on that once. Then you practice it like that about 3 to 4 journals and try to get the results. What are there in those publications? Suppose if you have obtained the results with the existing journal, you may have some confidence. So my request to the research scholars, first you take out 2 or 3 journals, important journals, reputed journals, relevant to your area and relevant to your topic. You should work on those journal publications, and verify your knowledge level by executing the existing results within the journal. Then you may get some confidence. Instead of going straight away to the new version or new technique that we are going to adapt, it is better to verify already somebody has done the work in your area. Definitely that will give you a confidence level. Then you try your best level every year. At least 10 years I already given as a reference. Every year, 3 to 5 publications you collect. So maximum 10 means maybe around 30 publications maybe in your hand with respect to your interesting area and topic. So then you have to adapt the appropriate methodologies, data collection methodologies, research methodologies, data collection methodologies, data analysis methodologies, and everything as per the coming lectures. We are having excellent lectures are there. The lectures you can able to get the information. So my sincere appeal to all of the research supervisors as well as the research scholars that you should spend at least 1 or 2 hours per day, not much more than that. From day of admission of the PhD program, you should spend at least 1 or 2 hours per day. Definitely, you can able to complete your research work within a stipulated time. That means maximum of 3 years. So you should have a good interaction with your supervisor as well as the co-supervisors, and take their that means suggestions taking into consideration, and should work on it. And once you should prepare a weekly report, what you are what you have done, what you have collected, what is existing one, what we have to further future work, you have to make a plan of work, and definitely you should be successful. Suppose if you stop on any day, if you have not spent about a minimum of 1 hour, definitely your research work is going to be a side track. So that I request all the research scholars and the staff members of our otherwise supervisors or co-supervisors, please effectively guide the research scholars and give a proper way to go further to complete their research program at the earliest possible. And nowadays, the publication, patents, all these things came into existence. This year 2022 admitted batch in our JNTU GV, we have changed the number of publications, maybe 2, maybe as far as the SCI journals are reputed journals. We have incorporated 1 patent also. Suppose if you have submitted a patent, published a patent, that also we are going to consider it as a journal. So all this consideration taking into account, my sincere appeal to all of the research scholars that you should be active and complete the research work at the earliest possible by following your respective academic regulations and guidelines of your PhD program. I am very thankful to the Raghu Engineering College administration authorities, Principal Garu, C.H. Srinivasa Garu, and convener Dr. Anandita Chatterjee Garu, program coordinator Ravati Madam Garu, and all committee members who has given me this opportunity to interact with you and express my personal opinions with regard to the research of your future endeavor. Thank you one and all for giving this great opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Babul Garu.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much, Professor Bablu Garu, for your suggestions, not only for the students, also for the faculty and the supervisors, and updated us with your knowledge. We are really grateful and privileged to have you in our FDP program. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Now, I would like to request Srimati K. Balkumari ma'am to give a brief introduction about our first resource person, Professor R. Sivaranjani madam of CSE Department of Raghu Engineering College. Over to Banu ma'am.
Good morning, one and all. Welcome to the FDP conducted by Raghu Engineering College. Before the session starts, I would like to introduce our resource person, Professor R. Sivaranjani. Professor R. Sivaranjani is currently Professor and Program Head of Department of CSE in Raghu Engineering College. Madam did her BTech from NIT Warangal, MTech and PhD from Andhra University in the field of cryptography and network security and group communication. Professor Sivaranjani has altogether 22 years of research and teaching experience along with many administrative credentials. She has around 50 publications in SCI, SCIE and Scopus journals, attended nearly 15 national and international conferences. She has authored 7 textbooks and 5 book chapters, and she has 2 patents and 2 copyrights in her account. Ma'am has delivered 20 guest lecture talks in various colleges and organized 10 FDPs, which includes 1 international conference. She has been the HOD and BOS member and chairman at ANITS from 2017 to 2022. And she is a part of AICTE Project Parag, which she contributed the questions at different blocks, Bloom's taxonomy levels in various subjects related to computer science. Now, with this brief introduction, I would like to invite Professor R. Sivaranjani to start her session. And please.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for introducing me to the galaxy. Am I audible? Good morning, everyone. Myself, Dr. R. Sivaranjani, Program Head, Computer Science and Engineering Department, Raghu Engineering College, Dr. Murray. So today, I would like to share a little knowledge which I know to everyone in this session. Is my screen? Yeah. So today I'm going to speak a few things about identifying a research topic for academic research and writing proposal. This topic is very much essential these days because these days we are very much passionate in extending our subject skills in terms of doing the research, in terms of applying for the patents, and in terms of submitting the proposals to various funding agencies, and also to extend your PhD works and PDF. So whatever be the tech methodology you are choosing for, this is very much essential even for the faculty who are with the MTech graduation is also required this topic because they need to publish topics in various journals and the conferences. So this is the very much important topic. So this I would like to cover like this. These are the content I'm going to discuss in this session. What exactly the research is talking about? It may be a PhD or it may be a grant, anything. And what are the characteristics of the research? Even though I use PhD, that is applicable to the platforms where you extend your developed work. And what kind of research you come across to do, and how to define a problem statement. What are the ways you can get into the exact problem statement, what you are going to address to or extend your research, and what are the phases in, especially in research, and the conclusion, and lastly the questions from the participants. So these are the learning outcomes you will come across after completion of my session. You will learn what are the different types of research you can do, and the main characteristics of a good researcher, and what are the phases you have when you start come across the research platform, and how to choose a problem statement which is relevant to your research area, and how to draft it in a better manner. Then finally the bibliography part, everything. So these are the learning outcomes after this session. So the research definition is not new to everyone, but it is the main task each researcher has to think or come across. That is nothing but each researcher or the scholar or the student independently they need to conduct or investigate. Here the term investigate makes a sense because the investigation they can do in their interested area. Okay, so the investigation can be anything like which produce to worthy work. So the investigation can be done in a new area where nowhere or so far not no research is initiated, or the area where already some research has happened. You can extend the existing work, or also you can evaluate the existing research work and give your remarks whether the work which is already published by different authors is worthy or is there any loopholes. So at the end of the research is talking about just the learning from the existing or providing a new dimension to initiate the research. But here at the end of the whole story, only one person is involved in doing it. That is nothing but the researcher. So their involvement is very much required in learning, analyzing, interpreting, and producing, which leads to a worthy work that can be helpful for the next generation to extend their knowledge further. So when you are the researcher, these are the things you must be very much familiar or keep it in mind. That is nothing but the characteristics of being a researcher. The first thing is the data or the methodology you are considering to be followed must be very accurate. You should not give the fake information that the algorithm is working very nicely and the data I have used is accurate. There should be some authentic mechanism which reflects that whatever you are delivering in the research should be accurate and systematic. And the second characteristics for the good research as well as the good researcher is ethics is required. You should not copy the things from other researchers, and also whatever observations and conclusions you are representing must be authentic from your side. And also the description should be very in a logical manner that may leads to introduction of the new topic or deduction of the method. That means you can consolidate the existing methods. And also you must possess the knowledge that is derived from the real-time observations or your surrounding experiences. That means in general, this is the statement very much applicable. When you start identifying the problem statement, in general, there are different ways to identify the problem, but majority of the cases where we look for the real-time problem statements where we can provide the best solution to address the issues which we come across in our day-to-day life. So once we recognize the time or real-time application of the problem statement, it is the researcher responsibility to go in depth wholeheartedly by collecting the data from their end, by reaching the location without any disturbances or fake information. And after the depth analysis, you have to consolidate the results and you should open the research in such a way that it creates a new questions to the next generation. Because in the research, it should not be a close-ended work. It should be like an open-ended work. That means you work up to some extent and you should be in a position, or the other generation people should be in a position to analyze your work and come across different kind of open extended questions that will help them to extend your work in the next level to generate a new solution to the existing real-time problems. Because of that only new inventions are coming up. Because olden days we don't have the technology, later on technology came into the picture, then we keep on updating our facilities by adding new features. This way the research is extended more and more. So these are the best qualities or the characteristics the good researcher or the research work in general possess. So basically a researcher or a student who want to extend their knowledge can do the research in these ways. So basically, the major classification is like the qualitative research as well as the quantitative research. But there are different subcategories under that. Altogether, where it is majorly categorized into 9 ways. One is the applied research, second one is the basic research, third one is correlational research, and fourth one is descriptive, ethnographic, experimental, exploratory, ground theory, and historical research. So the first one is the applied research, because these days we are coming across some open challenges through Smart India Hackathon, our submission for the grants, so many things we come across. So majority of the proposals are falls under the applied research. Here we try to apply or solve a practical problems which we come across into our day-to-day life. So that may create a new inventions, like for example, so recently we come across the what is that COVID period. So the knowledge what we have, that should be in what way we can apply to provide the solution to find the vaccine to the COVID. So that is also an applied research, or otherwise there are the inventions like development of the tools like us IoT platform, where we are coming across the smartest in uses of the devices very smartly. That major example is our health. These days automated machines are available. It will automatically analyze your health, and accordingly it will inform to the doctor. According based on that, the doctor will give you the different subscriptions. So applied research is like you have to get the problem for which we come across in our day-to-day life and provide the solution with the knowledge you have. So with the knowledge you have, in the sense, in this case, if you require, you need to acquire more knowledge to provide the optimized solution. So to support that applied research topic, some of the examples are listed, which is nothing but how we can use the IoT platform to improve the agriculture crop production. And recently we come across the price hike in the tomatoes. So we can go for the mechanisms to preserve the tomatoes, some approach, so that the cost of the tomatoes come down. And also how to cure a specific disease. So even though we have medicines to the existing diseases, still we are come across a new diseases connected to the cancer and our different kinds of tumors you come across. So how we can provide the solution to all those things falls under the applied research. The next one is the basic research. Basic research is nothing but the primary research, where we need not bother much in the creation of the innovation. We just concentrate on expanding our knowledge. That means how the things are happening, like why Earth is on an oval shape, how the universe started, okay, and what is the DNA sequence, how it is connected through the genome sequence 18GC. So these are all the like existed questions. Many people has provided the solutions. We know the best one, but to have the depth knowledge, we do research. So this is nothing but just know about the existing things in detail. That falls under the basic research. And the third one is the correlational research. Correlational research, the term itself is representing, it is a relation between multiple variables. So more than or equal to two variables. Okay, so in general, this research will extend to find the relationship between the variables. For example, we come across S is equal to UT plus half AT square, or F which is equal to MBA. So there we find three variables: force is equal to mass and acceleration. Okay, then if I increase the force, how mass and acceleration get influenced. So here we will try to identify the connectivity or the dependency among the variables. That may not lead to the invention, but even then we are interested to identify the connectivity among the variables we come across. So to support that definition, the example is like you collect a group of people, your choice, and make them to listen certain music, Western, folk, then analyze their BP levels or their experiences. Did they enjoy that music, what we played to them? You collect the experiences from them and arrive at the conclusion that how many people enjoyed the music, how many people BP levels are in the normal mode, and how many people's BP levels are going into the high or low. So from that, you try to derive or like come to a mathematical representation that shows the relation between the people characteristic and their BP level. The characteristics in the sense, if it is the music of certain category and the BP level. Here two variables are involved, music and the BP. So it may be the directly proportional or indirectly proportional. You have to arrive at the description of what exactly you observe from the experimentation. At the end, you must be in a position to write the association rule from the observation. And fourth research direction is descriptive research. So descriptive research is nothing but the analysis or observation of characteristics of individual or characteristics of the situation or a group of people. For example, we come across different situations, the example is reflected. Based on the area and the kind of people living, you can analyze how frequently the people are getting infected by various kinds of diseases. So based on the area, in the sense, if they are nearer to the dump yards, most frequently they will get the infections because of the viruses developed in the dump yard. That may influence the health of the people who are living in that place. If you are living in your best place, the disease infection may not be, but because of some natural environmental impact, people also get. That means here what we are doing is we are trying to analyze how frequently the things are happening because of some effects. This is also like a survey kind of information under the descriptive research. The fifth category is the ethnographic research. Ethnographic research is very much required these days because India is a hub of culture. We may not aware of different cultures because many of the cultures extincted because of migration to different locations. But this research exclusively concentrating on analysis of the culture in depth. The culture talks about their responsibilities, how they do. For example, if you take the Orthodox Brahmins, they will follow certain rules and regulations. There is some procedure they need to follow in the morning, afternoon, Sandhya Vandanas, all those things. We may not aware of much. And also you can look at the how the weaver is weaving the saris, what is the procedure and how many generations, what kind of saris in general they are going through. And what skills they are supposed to learn to weave a sari. Those things falls under the ethnographic research. So here we need to collect systematically the characteristics of the people involved in that culture, their habits, and you need to analyze the collected information, develop the complete theory, what exactly the culture people are following in the documentation form. So here, the ethnographic researcher need to visit the place where they need to live with the people or spend some what do you call handful days with the people who are following that culture, observe daily, minute to minute, and consolidate it, analyze it, produce that in the form of a structural representation of the documentation. So this is one of the area where people can work on, because to preserve our culture, Indian culture, we can extend our research. The sixth one is the experimental research. The experimental research is nothing but we need to investigate the things, because See, Alva Edison invented the bulb. How he invented? He come across different kind of experimental procedures. His objective is to invent the light, so that he come across different strategies. He failed for n number of times. So what is his experience is, for the first time of experimenting, he understood certain difficulties or loopholes that leads to failure of the light bulb. Next, he changed the strategy and again continued the research. Likewise, you have to continue the experimentation till you get succeeded. Sometimes the experimental research will lead to a success or a failure. But in the extending of experimental research, basically, we need to recognize two things. One is dependent variables and the other one is the independent. So independent variables are nothing but the basic inputs we are considering for the experimentation. Use those all variables. In the independent input variables, there may be a dependent variables. But we need to use all those variables in the sense, if it is the chemistry related components to be required, if it is the programming related variables or the data set input in that attributes, you may find the dependent variables or dependent attributes independent. If it is the sensor based, there may be a kind of categories of sensors. So all those are nothing but the input you need to use for the experimentation. Then analyze the results and try to arrive at the solution, which is nothing but a solution arrived from the usage of the dependent variables. That means we are omitting the independent input variables that may not contribute their involvement in the solution to the research. So this is about the experimental. The next one is the exploratory research. Exploratory research, basically this simple way of understanding. If we go through the foreign textbook, we may not able to understand what exactly the author is describing. But if the same work is converted into the Indian publication, there may be certain author who reproduce the same thing what foreign author has delivered. That means exploratory research is nothing but the one which is not clearly defined can be converted into the way which is acceptable or make it sense to many researchers. That means you are enlarging the clarity of the research. So if you understand clearly from the unclarified description, you will get a lot of things, like you can come to a conclusion what exactly the author is speaking about or what problem the author has discussed and what it is not yet addressed and what is not relevant, which is relevant, everything you will get to know. So once you get the clarity through this exploratory, so exploratory research is to make the conversion to ununderstandable format to the understandable one. Okay, so this is the channel for creating the people to get to know the concept thoroughly. The next one is the grounded theory research. This grounded theory research is connected to the social environment. That means you need to look at the formulation of the problems, like root causes of the environmental effects, formulate the what exactly the environment effect is impacting the livelihood of the people, and develop the theory, test it, and give the conclusion that whatever procedure or you formulated is leading to the solution for the problem what we faced under this environmental category. So in this, we come across the 4 stages. Here, if it is like the people living in a certain area, you need to collect the people and what kind of livelihood they are come across, and you need to analyze the way of living and how many people are living in the same environment, categorize them, then look at their health history and what kind of like soil, like why it is happening, whether it is like because of the water effects or the soil effects or the environmental effects where they are living at. So here our grounded theory research is exclusively concentrating on the root causes of the problems. And from there we'll try to give the solution to the problems what we come across. And the last one is the historical research. So this is nothing but majority of the research is related to the ancient history. So we are aware of how the kings, emperors, everything. So archaeology department usually do extend these kind of research. So what is our history? How our ancient people lived and what are their food habits? What are their daily routine? What kind of living styles they come across, problems they faced, and our hereditary information, we'll do the research in the historical research. So for all these 9 kinds of researches, these are the 5 phases we need to follow. For any research, we need to arrive at the problem statement. What we are going to do in our research. Abstracting problem statement or the question, we may call it as. Once we recognize the problem, we need to go through the study of the existing work, that we call it as the literature study, and the background in detail we'll see, which is connected to the problem we decided to work on. Then to initiate the solution for the problem we identified, we need to start with the data collection. That may be through case studies, or that may be through the survey, or that may be through reading the journals or textbooks, or if required, you need to visit certain locations. Then use that data which you have collected on the solution or the method you feel to use. That falls under the methodology. Then on the methodology with the data you collected, you need to analyze the findings. That is nothing but production of or explanation of the results and your observations, your experiences, then finally conclusion. These are the 5 phases, major phases we need to go across when you are doing or we are doing the research. So before finalizing the problem statement, we need to look for these following criteria, because without this pre-work, if we jump into the problem statement, sometimes we may head in between. So in general, in computer terminology, we call the term feasibility study. That means it makes a sense whether we go ahead with the problem or not. So these are the various criteria parameters we need to consider before proceeding for the problem. Solution identification to the problem what we identified. The first one is the interest, because we come across different 9 categories of research areas. Some are connected to the hereditary, some are connected to the applied, some are just basic knowledge, some are like environmental issues, so many. But you have to think and decide whether the problem is creating interest in you or not. If you start the solution derivation without interest, you may not extend till the end. So before into that, you may attract towards n number of areas. You must be very clear whether this area, what you have chosen, connected to the problem is making you in the interest mode till the end of the submission. The next one is size. Size in the sense, nothing but objectives. Because from the problem, we can easily analyze whether I can do it or not. Do it or in the sense, for example, in the computer science, majority of the applications are developed through the uses of the existing freeware tools. But there are the situations we need to look at for the licensed, and also how much this to support these objectives, what we come across, can be able to produce the solution. If I keep 5 to 10 objects for the problem, then I may not able to complete the solution for all the 5 objects in a tenure of fixed. For example, if it is the research scholar PhD, for the regular scholar, they are interested to finish their research in 3 years. If it is like a non-regular or part-time, they need to spend minimum 4 hours. That means you need to think the objectives what you are finalizing with the problem statement is doable in the tenure what you faced. Next, we need to think of the money also and the time. Here the time is, if I freeze 3 years, how much time I need to spend on this solution derivation or the experimentation or methodology, understanding everything. And is there any involvement of the money is required to provide the solution? Because based on our financial situations, I told like for the CSC, majority of the projects we can do, if it is the software related, we can do by using the free tools. If it is the IoT related, we need to invest some money to get the sensors and all. So that things we need to analyze. And researchers' capabilities and limitations. So being the individual, you know your skills, how effectively you can analyze the things from the learning. Because few researchers can understand or grasp the content very fast. Few may not able to. So in that case, the time you require to understand the things, and also look for the availability of the facilities where you are extending your research. Because when we are doing the research, we need to go through the downloading of different kinds of IEEE journals, ACM journals, are many like reputed journals, or book chapters. We need to go through the understanding of different topics present in the textbooks. You check what are the facilities you have is sufficient to extend your research. The next one is uniqueness. That means, are you in a position to develop a solution which is not existed so far? That means you should not duplicate the work. You need to define. Then you need to, from the problem statement, you need to analyze the things, theory, how it can be extended. Theory in the sense, you need to elaborate the background skill, literature work, and how, what are the limitations existed in the existing work, how you can address those limitations through your methodology. That means here you need to write the problem statements and existing work and the limitations. Then you arrive at the problem statement from the limitations, which limitation you are going to address in your research. Then once it is identified, then the solutions representation. Because in the journal articles or the thesis write-up, we need to look at, if you see the experimentation and results section, we need to present a number of graphs. That shows sometimes in your individual observations or the comparative analysis with the existing authors with your work. So you need to predict, can I able to produce more number of valuable results that makes the researchers to get interest in extending your research. So that also you need to think before, because if it is the descriptive type of analysis, you may not produce those many results in terms of the graphs. You may represent the things or observations in the description or the narrative form. And the lastly, ethics is very required. So you need not to copy the things. These are the things, because the copying case will come if you are not confident and not having the interest to extend your research. So these are the things you needed to analyze before proceeding for the problem analysis as well as the solution providing. So we are talking about the problem. What is the hardest part of the research? So the hardest part is asking the questions. So framing the questions in an appropriate manner. This is our experience. Like in the school days, the teacher asks us some questions, we habituated to give the answers. But it is in the higher end level of schooling, people or the teachers encourage us to ask more doubts. What for? That is the platform where you are indirectly nurtured to come out with a different questions, right questions, which is to be analyzed by your peer group as well as the faculty. If you are in a position to ask the right questions which are connected to the topic you are listening or you are into the research, that is enough for you to start your research. So the basic backbone for initiating the research is asking the right question in the right time. Once you identify the right question, definitely you will try to find the best solution to address that question. So in general, to arrive at the questions, these are the things you might experience or that may help you to arrive at the problem statement. So the first one is, while you are reading the textbook or reading the journal articles or attending any conference, you may feel the problem is quite interesting. That means that is the initiation for you to start your problem statement. So whenever you heard some solution to certain problem, you may feel that why only this solution, why not the other way? That itself is the initiation to extend or start your research. So these days, the problems which are interesting is societal issues. Even though you are not aware of the questions, you can browse the questions through the Smart India Hackathon or some of the like MSD competitions, hackathons. They will list out all the questions which are connected to the society. You can choose one of the societal issue and try to provide the solution. So here you need to go through the problem statement they listed, which creates interest in you. That is very much required. So that you will get either for the applications or for the methodology or for the, what is that, your observation or the gadgets you are coming across. You may think of like, why mobile is this much heavy? Why don't we go for a lightweight? That is also an interesting. The next one is the hardness in the problem. So we come across different kind of students where some student not at all bother to solve easy questions. They will show interest only if it is hard or otherwise analytical interpreted Bloom's taxonomy level questions. So there are people who are very much interested in providing the solutions to the hard questions. That means some people already tried for providing the solution, may not achieve. That creates some interest in you to extend the research. Then You can extend your knowledge and find the solution to the hard problems. I hope like the people mathematics related, like researchers are now working on few of the solutions to the Ramanujan theory. So those problems they feel hard and they are working on it to derive the methodology and all. If it is not there, they are trying to find the solution. And next one is the already solved ones. That means the solutions are with you. That means already you got some inputs. That makes you some interest to extend the work what they proposed. So these are the three dimensions which will create the interest in the derivation of the problem statement. So basically these are the resources to get your ideas or the problem statements. One is while you are working on something, you may stuck between, for example, whenever your mother is chopping the onions, if she feels pain in holding the knife, that is also one problem statement where the methodology, sorry, the material they used for manufacturing the gripper is hard. So you create a solution that can facilitate a smooth holding to your mother. The next one is you attend different types of conferences or the talks, guest lectures, special sessions, or otherwise you browse a number of journal articles and or what is that books, or if required you take the classes. The students will ask certain questions. If you are not in a position to address their question, that itself is a problem for you to initiate your research. So this is one way of extending your research idea. The other one is, last one is our guide or the supporter. So here for the BTech and MTech projects, our guides will define the problem statement when we are with the PhD time. Then our advisor or the guide will give us the direction of the area. We need to narrow down into it. So our involvement is very essential to understand the concept in depth. So these are the dimensions or the ways you will land to finalize the problem statement. So whatever we are discussing is arriving at the problem statement. That is the basic step for extending or initiating the research work. So before finalizing it, like the problem statement, you need to question yourself about this. So he is the author, well known. So before proceeding the methodology or the literature or background work, you have to question yourself. You come across the problem statement or the some identified statement to initiate your research in terms of the analyzing the facilities and the environment. With your experience, at last you come across the problem statement. But before proceeding for the solution provision, what exactly you are trying to do with that problem? How it is being done today? Is there anyone working in this problem statement? How new this problem statement can be addressed leads to attract a number of researchers. Who is going to use it? And what kind of innovation or makes you difference with this problem statement? And what are the pitfalls and the risks? How much it costs? How much time you need to work to complete the solution? Okay, and what are the what check marks or the landmarks to assess your results, whether you are going in the right direction to get the appropriate solution. So in the terms of PhD work, we may call it as reviews. Review with the guide or review with the peer group or review with the panel, and finally pre-talk. Those are all the check marks to assess our work. Are we in the right direction? So if you can able to answer all these questions connected to your problem statement, then you need to start the journey of extending your research like this. You need to title your problem statement, then abstract, background, detailed description of the problem statement, research objectives, literature work, methodology, and the experimentation, result observation, plan of work, and the bibliography. That plan of work or nothing but the appendix I'm interested to. Overview of the chapters in the sense my intention is references. So what exactly all these topics talk like parts of the research. So far we finalized the problem statement, but we need to give the title to that problem statement. So the title itself in a position to attract the people. For example, if I write the title like electronic medical record sharing using machine learning. See here, the title itself will give you some sense that I'm interested to extend my research in electronic medical records of a patient in a hospital through one approach, machine learning. But it is a vague because I have not concentrated on the which mechanism I'm interested to use. There are n number of machine learning approaches are there. That may not create the interest because a lazy man can feel that you are going to use the existing machine learning approaches to share the EMR records. So your title should create some interest. If I keep the title like electronic medical records sharing using privacy preserving federated learning approach. So there is some specific approach I am interested to mention that gives the clarity to the researcher who are going across or come across the understanding of your research work. By seeing the title itself, they will make some sense. You are interested to share the medical record using the federated learning and privacy word is there. That means you are going to address the security also. So your title should give the readers clear-cut picture what you are going to do in the research. Then abstract writing. So in general, the standard format of abstract writing is 100 to 150 words. We may feel of writing 100 to 150 words, but there is some structure in abstract writing. The abstract should cover the following parameters. Your abstract should start with the domain, then existing work, next open-ended question, then how your methodology is going to address that open-ended question. Next, what benefit with your methodology the open-ended problem is resolved. So here, basically, your abstract will give you the summary of starting from basic statement, loopholes, your methodology, and benefits of using your method. So benefits, it may be in terms of computation cost, it may be in terms of the communication cost, or in terms of analytical ability or more efficiency. So those things. So the abstract should cover all these things. For the same example, like EMR sharing using the privacy preserving federated learning, I need to open with what exactly electronic medical sharing in the machine learning environment. Then, so far, how many machine learning, whether it is the classification techniques are doing the EMR sharing? I need to reflect those techniques. Then as the data is sharing in the open environment, security is the major concern. And if it is the single person to single person, one-to-one communication, there is a scope of different, what is that? We may call it as the problems like poison and different kinds of attacks. And if it is without the involvement of the server, what are the problems? In a single line statement, I need to narrate. Then through my methodology, I will provide the security with the approach of federated learning. In what way federated learning is the best? So it is like the server involvement without knowing the customers or the nodes data, the server can integrate the weightages, arrive at the global model. Then in what way I am facilitating the privacy? In a two line. Then next one, because of this privacy and the federated learning, the computation cost is less and security is more. This way I need to summarize the abstract in terms of the like 100 to 150 words. There is a systematic drafting. Then afterwards, immediately after the abstract, we need to find the keywords. In general, the keywords are minimum 5, maximum 8. The keywords are nothing but the critical word that will help the reader. So in general, after the keywords, all the keywords are separated by commas. Then after the keywords, we need to start with the introduction part. So the introduction part will give you or connect it to the first statement of your abstract. As I clearly mentioned, what is the area you started working on it? So the introduction part will give you what is EMR, what exactly the EMR is having, how it will be represented, and what are the machine learning techniques, how the machine learning techniques are sharing or clustering and classifying the data. So the detailed description of the overview should be represented. Then after that, we can represent the sections like if you see the journals article, section 2 talks about the notations used, section 3 is the literature work, section 4 is the methodology. So overview of the sections you can add after the introduction. In general, introduction can be 2 to 4 paragraphs, short and crispy. The introduction should cover what exactly the problem, what is the field of study you are doing, and what kind of methodologies they are using to analyze the problem. Is that important? What kind of significance the problem you are considering is leading to academic or the world audience that create the interest in extending the research in the same domain where you are working. Okay, and why the reader is supposed to go through your proposal or the journal article or the research. Nothing but see, I told no the second statement. That is the initiation for my research work. That is nothing but the privacy is the concern to me when I'm sharing the electronic medical record. So this is the statement of the problem. This you can draft in terms of the objectives one after another, and this or the in general the objectives can be right like this. For example, for the same application EMR sharing, basically I can go for 2 to 3 objects. In general, you should need not you must go for minimum 2 and maximum 4. Otherwise, like for the journal article I'm talking, if it is the research, you can go for the 4 objectives, or you can go for only 1 objective that covers many of the interrelated objects. So the objectives of the research can be represented like what exactly you are going to do. In the EMR sharing, my objective may be like uses of the best machine learning algorithm in EMR sharing, that is nothing but the federated learning. The second objective is providing the security to the electronic medical record. The third objective is to increase the efficiency of the existing methodology. In terms of the communication or computation, so computation in the sense less time, the operations or complete algorithm can be executed. So the objectives will give you a clear picture of throughout the documentation what exactly you are going to provide to the problem statement what you defined so far. So if required, for each and every objective, you can give the justification of the study, why you are doing that. This is optional, you need not, because whatever objectives you phrased in this section, that will be addressed through the methodology section. So in the objectives, if required, you can write the objective like, my research is to address the following questions, or you can write, I want to experience the following terminology. So these are different ways of writing the objectives, or directly you can narrate the statements, that is also acceptable. So listing of the objectives can be in different manners. Few people will write what is the causes of the COVID, and what is the virus contributing more impact on the COVID people, like people with less immunity. So likewise also you can write the objectives. So this way you then continuation is the literature. So the limitations is the open-ended statement or the initiation for the literature survey. So for the problem statement, what you have initiated to provide the solution, you need to look at the thorough analysis of the existing work. So introduction is the major description of your machine learning area, but the literature work is for the same application, what I'm talking, EMR record reading, patient record sharing. How many researchers contributed their research in terms of journals or in terms of conferences? That means we are trying to narrow down our concept learning, which are very much relevant to our problem statement. So literature section is nothing but the summary or addressing of the authors who extended the research in our problem statement domain. So in the literature, there are so many ways to write the literature, right? So different ways, like for example, the one way in general we come across in IEEE transaction is the author, add the reference number, which is connected to the reference section, what he has addressed connected to the EMR sharing, what mechanism he has used, and what is the approach he suggested, and what kind of benefits with that methodology he provided, and what is the limitation with the technique. Similarly, the next author, his methodology, what are the features he addressed in the EMR sharing, and what is the limitation, what are the limitations. Likewise, you need to go through the literature of the publications which are published in the recent 3 years. In general, we need to consider majority of the literature work of past 3 years. If required, you can also go beyond, but in the literature summary, we need to represent the observation in the format of the table. So in the literature, if required, we can go for the symbols used, all those things, those are based on the area you are working, it is required. But in the literature section, by the end of the reading the literature section, the researcher will get the full clarity that what are the research papers you gone through for connecting your problem statement, their submissions like observations, and the limitations. In general, in the literature section, people will present their observations in terms of the architectures or in terms of the tabular form representation. If we see, like for each and every author invention, they will keep the reference, methodology used, features, characteristics, advantages, and the limitations. That way of summary, in general, we observe as the consolidated observation in the literature section. Along with that table, the description part will be there in the literature section. So in general, literature is the third section or second section after the introduction. If it is the third section, the second section is nothing but the objectives of our research. So the literature critically assess your problem statement, identify the gaps. So by the end of the literature, the researcher who is reading your research will get these are the limitations you observe. Then for how many you are going to provide the solution, that will be connected to your objectives part. So methodology, this is the backbone of our complete research. So far you come across the vast background and the literature, existing work with the limitations. Now you start your methodology. So methodology talks about your invention, the process, how you are going to deal with the problem in terms of the pseudocode or in terms of the algorithm or in terms of the program or in terms of the architecture, detailed architecture and the high level architecture. This way you can represent and what are the roles involved in that architecture, what are the responsibilities of individual. So the methodology will give you the clear-cut information of your invention. Then in the methodology, we can also address like these are the limitations I am interested to. So by drafting the methodology, you can break down the methodology into sub-modules. So what is the module 1, what it is going to address, and what is the module 2, what exactly you are going to get out of the module, whether this module 1 is the input to the module 2 or all the modules are dependent or independent, everything you need to think and describe. And this section is nothing but the consolidation of your observations and the observation significance, in what way your methodology is best than the existing. So this significant implication will reflect the results section and experimentation. In the simplification part, we need to start with what is the configuration and tools you have used in the development of the method, what you have proposed, and what is your input and what is your output. But in the output, it always needs to be reflected in terms of the graphs or tables. Okay, then finally, you need to consolidate where you have started, what limitations you observe, what solution you have proposed, and in what way your methodology is best than the limitations you identified, or what kind of limitations you addressed in the research. So that gives the conclusion. Then in general, the time plan, like we say, frequently you meet the guide and present to the peer group and get to know their feedback and extend your work. If you feel that you are moving in the wrong direction, or even though sometimes the methodology you adopted may not be the right, based on the recommendations from the audience, from their inputs, you can change your methodology to arrive at the best solution. And this is the reference in general we need to follow. This is the IEEE reference section. That is the standard format we need to follow whenever we are adding the references. Like in the reference section, you need to add the books, book chapters, and the online journal articles, e-journal articles, or published articles and conference paper. But there is a structure to be followed. If it is the book, author, name and followed by surname and book title and the edition and the publisher in which year it was published. So everything will be there in the reference. Even for the conference, authors, title, title of the conference, and the where it was conducted, in which year, and what is the pages, what is the starting page and ending page of the published article. So this is the standard notation we need to follow to add the references. And bibliography and the indexes is nothing but the additional material or the add-ons to the research work. In general, the bibliography talks about different kinds. For example, if you are using any log sheets or some mathematical calculations or derivations or correctness proofs or some symbols notations if required, those things you need to be added in the appendix. And also, if you got any grant for this research, that also to be added. If required, the author profile to be added in the appendix part. Then for a research or the researcher, these are the skills very much essential. That is nothing but the subject knowledge is required and research ability is required, and they need to be in a position to see the things in a different direction, think out of the box case, and whatever you are doing, that should be presented in a proper manner. So communication skills also required. So while writing the thesis write-up or the journal article or the research proposal for the granting agencies, these are the mistakes try to avoid when we are writing the proposals. One is you need to write the proposal crystal and clear. You should not prolong the description, because being like we habituated to write the analytical answers, sometimes we may follow the same strategy, but the proposal should be in an objective manner that gives the clear-cut picture, because the examiners may not have that much time to go through your draft. And also try to avoid the introduction part too lengthy and too much literature work. So you try to reduce the introduction part. I told you 2 to 3 paragraphs, 2 to 4 paragraphs. Short paragraph is essential for the introduction, and for the literature, it's better to consider the last 3 years of publications. And in the introduction, we may spend more pages. In the literature, sometimes we may use less content, but you need to extend more in the literature because that is connected to your problem statement. And for each and every paper you are referencing in the literature, citation should be there. You check, or for your convenience, the number of references in literature should be more than the introduction. And also in the narration or the description, better focus on the major objectives instead of considering the minor objectives. That means like understanding so and so concept, privacy, that will give you the vague object. So my objective should be provide privacy to the EMR patient sharing using the federated learning. So that will give the high level of the issue which I am going to provide the solution. Okay, then grammar should be thoroughly checked, and the notations to be used uniformly throughout the draft, because we habituated, like see, there are the symbols in general in CSC terminology. P is the prime number, P the same thing will be used for the user. So there should not be ambiguity when using the notations. You must check uniqueness in the uses of these symbols. The same symbol will be used, and terminology also, like if you start using the patient, use the patient word throughout the drafting. You should not change the patient with the synonym. That will create the confusion to the examiner who is going through your draft. So these are the things you need to avoid when you are writing the proposals, like major concentration on your work, and major concentration citations in the literature, good grammar, better presentation skills, and the uniform follow-up of the notations, and the picture should be very clear, and the table should be giving the more information than the vague description. So in the tabular form, don't give the sentence kind of reflection. Better to you go for the keywords like methodology used. So methodology in the sense the methodology name is enough for in the representation in the tabular. If you want to add the description in the documentation, you can add. So the kind of follow up in the tabular creation also to be followed. And in the drafting of the writing research, table heading should be always on the upper side of the table, top of the table, and for the figures, that the caption should be on the bottom of the figure. These are the standards to be followed. And this is about the guidelines to initiate or write up. So in general, to summarize, you must be very clean or clear in the problem statement, create the apt title, reflect that in 100 to 150 words, solution in a 100 to 150 words, then present the background or the introduction, vast area, then narrow down the problem statement through the literature survey, then followed by the, if required, either before or after, mention the objectives 2 to 3, then standard notations or the notations you followed in the draft that you add up before initiating the methodology. In the methodology, clear-cut block diagram or the procedure or the pseudocode or algorithm, you must write the description to be added. Then once methodology part is completed, you experiment with the users of the equipment, either hardware or software. Write the observation clearly under the implications or the experimentation and results. Then finally conclude. Then after references and the bibliography and appendix. So this is the overall picture of writing any research proposal, whether it is the journal article or the research grant proposal or PhD thesis. In between, if more methodologies are there, you will add more number of chapters. So any questions from the audience?
The session is open for questions.
Madam, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir.
Once explain EMR sharing, ma'am.
What, sir?
EMR, ma'am.
EM?
What is R, ma'am? RR.
Electronic medical record.
Electronic.
Medical record.
Madam, thank you, madam.
Sir, any questions from the audience? Any more questions? Okay, if there are no questions, thank you all for patiently listening. And I would like to express my sincere thanks to the Raghu Engineering College Management, Principal Sir, and the FDP Organizing Committee to providing this platform to share my knowledge with all of you. Thank you, one and all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sivaranjani ma'am, for giving a very elaborate and interesting lecture, thoroughly listing all the parts which is needed for writing a research proposal. Thank you so much, ma'am. This session will be closed for morning session. Again, we will meet at 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you.